Hi, it's Chantel again, and I am here to talk to you a little bit about Greek art. Vase painting was significant in this area. Vases were used a lot. Vases were the main vessel for gathering water, for storing wine, for getting olive oil. Everything was stored in vases. And vases couldn't be just plain and dull. They needed to be ornate and beautiful and exquisite. And many of them depicted stories, events, interesting images. Some of the vases, you can see this first one is the images are light on a black background, and this is achieved through doing through having a pale clay with a dark slip over top, and then you would etch away all of the black background. This other one you can see has dark images on a light background, and then additional painting on top of it to add to it. But there are a lot of vase paintings and a lot of ornate vases in Greece. It's one of their main art forms, one of them. Another one that we see is sculpture. The Greeks, as I was saying earlier, the Greeks celebrated the human form. They were also interested in perfection. So sculpture was not necessarily about sculpting a specific person. It was about sculpting a perfect person, a beautiful person. These two are some early Greek sculptures from what's called the Archaic period, and they're very stylized. They usually have one foot in front of the other, and they have this kind of little smile, which is interesting. They all have sort of a pursed, tight smile. And so these are archaic style. They almost look Egyptian in nature. But again, the goal was that perfection of human form. They're also working through some of the details of how to balance a sculpture and make it stay, make it freestanding but stable. Then later in Greece, as we get into the Hellenistic period, they start to play with how to show human dynamic, how to celebrate the athletes and their physical being. And you'll see a lot of the sculptures are nudes, because they were celebrating the human form, the human body, the beauty of the human. And you can see, though, that this shows some wonderful tension. And you'll see as we progress through time that this is a skill that we lose and we have to regain, is how to really depict the human body in another medium, in this case marble. This is a bronze. He was probably holding a spear in this. I believe this is a bronze of Zeus. And again, they're working through the human form, but also how the body stands and moves. You can see how the hip is slightly off to the side, and it is balanced by the shoulders being at a different angle. So the shoulders are at one angle, and the hips come in at a slightly different angle. And that's part of how we balance, and the knee is forward and this leg is back, and this spiraling and this counterbalancing is called contrapposto, and we're really going to pick that up again later. I was talking about some of the friezes and the bas-relief sculptures. The sculpture that is attached partially, it's not freestanding, it's part of the background. You can see these were some sculptures in the frieze. Here we have another male and a female sculpture, again depicting ideal human form, a heightened. In today's world, they would be photoshopped, right? They're not specific people, they're idealized people. This is a depiction of Nike, the winged goddess of victory. We've lost her head, but you can see that it's very dynamic, very fluid, and really quite exquisite. This is a depiction of Aphrodite looking at herself in the pool, and again celebrating the human form, and also exploring that physicality and how bodies move and how we spiral, and also, you know, working through the perfection of sculpture and making that all work. And I think I have a couple extra slides in here. Oh, I guess that's it. So a few things to keep in mind, and I guess I should just bring us to, well, so I'll just leave it at this YouTube page apparently. How about grapes instead? They're Greek. Is that the Greeks were seeking perfection. They were trying to understand human beauty. Most of the art of the Greeks, I feel that the architecture is art, but most of what we standardly consider fine art today, for the Greeks, what we have is primarily sculpture. There are some paintings, but most of the paintings were done as, like, faces were done as funerary masks. But there were also a lot of frescoes on the walls and mosaics, and some really lovely pieces. In fact, while I still have a moment, you're going to have to look at me surf for some stuff. Let's go. Let's look up some of these Knossos murals. This is in Crete. So this is a little bit earlier. This is in just off of the coast of Greece, on an island called Crete. But again, a lot of the style is the same. This is, they had tons of these beautiful frescoes and murals in the buildings. And this is showing some of the athletes partaking in a ceremony called bull jumping. They didn't do bull fighting, they did bull jumping. They would run and they would jump over the bull. In this style, in Knossos, usually the women were depicted in pale tones and in white, and men were usually depicted in browns. I think it was just as a way of distinguishing between the two. Let's find you another lovely mural. Let's go for this one. This, again, inspires a lot of other artists in time. You can see that in the Knossos depictions, they're very stylized. These three women don't look different. They look very similar, but again, beautifully painted, lots of color. The whole notion that the Greeks, everything was white, was not the case. Here's another close-up of the mural. This one is at the Getty Museum, but it is a recreation of one of the murals in Greece. You can see that the palaces in Knossos, they have a different kind of column. These are very specific to Minoan style. very brightly colored, with lots of bright murals behind. And let's show about, yeah. So this is really, you know, how we would see it in a room. These would be mosaiced, tiles cut and pieced together, and then this is usually done as a mural, painted. A lot of times the floors were very heavily mosaiced. Sometimes the marble was colored, and you can see very, very bright, very ornate. Yeah, so we meld the art and the architecture together. So I think with that brings us to a close on architecture, or at least a little sampling of it. And yeah, and hopefully if you have questions, you may need to relay them to Dave, and I'll see if I can answer them. I have class at the same time you do, so I can't answer them live, but maybe I can give you some more information as you need it. All right, so have a great day, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.